Man, there's some substantial weight to this. You could tell that you're holding on to a quality part. It's absolutely incredible. Shotgun Shocks, these guys are incredible. Welcome back to SPEEDFREAKTV. Okay, so I just got my package in the mail. It's the Shotgun Shock Air Ride system. Now, if you know anything about Shotgun Shock's Air Ride, this system is insane. It basically allows me to control the up and down of the motorcycle in the back end of the suspension here. It completely replaces the stock suspension. I actually got a hold of these guys and found out their system when I went on the HD forum boards. Now, HD Forum Boards is a great website you can jump on the internet. You can go on the forums, you can research anything. Man, these guys have saved me a lot of time and money. A lot of my fellow Harley Davidson modders and motorcycle guys, I'm gonna put this down, it's a little heavy. They basically have been able to help me, point me in the right direction. One of the biggest unanimous decisions is to go to Shotgun Shocks because it's such a great system. And here's why. The system was designed and built by JD from Shotgun Shocks. He's been in the business for over 30 years. In the last 15 years, he's perfected the air ride suspension system on a bike. Now, I wanted it on my bike because I like that lowered look. So it finally came in the mail. I can't wait to open it up. But before I do, I want you to know a little bit about Shotgun Shocks. So the system is actually made out of 6061 aluminum T6 hardened anodized casing. It's got pretty much a lifetime warranty on it. If you need anything at all, JD is always helping people out. If you're going on a ride and there's something wrong with your system, which doesn't usually happen, he'll courier your new part, get it fixed. It's an amazing service. He believes in his parts, it's made in America. This guy's absolutely insane. I can't wait to open up the box and see what's inside. Well, I already did, but for the sake of the episode, we're gonna open it up now and take a look at what you get when you order a Shotgun Shock system. So once you get your Shotgun Shock system, you open up the box and you have all of your information that you need to install it. You've got some business cards for all your jealous friends. That's going to be good to have. And then you can see that everything is actually kind of nicely, neatly packed in a very safe box. Now, when you open up the box, you immediately see quality. To me, this is almost like opening up a motherboard for a computer. You have all your connections, you've got your switches, and it's actually protected with some plastic. That's a really amazing piece. You've got some additional wiring controls. You've got your twist ties, you've got your air hose, you've got all the connectors. I mean, here's a relay, there's the power wire to the battery. This is pretty amazing stuff. Also, you get these absolutely amazing air compressor. Now, the air compressor comes with the same type of computer, almost like connectors. It has all the weatherproofing and wiring. And you can see that this thing is actually chrome with some chrome here, and it just looks so cool when it's mounted to your motorcycle. In addition, now here's the actual brains of the system, the piece that does all the hard work. As you can see, this beautiful Shotgun Shock logo that's screwed into the top of this system. Now, this system is actually aluminum, but when you pull it out of the box, man, there's some substantial weight to this. You could tell that you're holding on to a quality part. It's absolutely incrediable. Shotgun Shocks, these guys are incredible. So there's a shock as well. And then you have some miscellaneous nuts, bolts, and some heat shrink tube, which you're gonna need in order to install it. So now you can see we actually removed the upper belt guard, we've removed the lower belt guard, and we've removed the rear dust shield of the bike. This actually now gives you a lot of opportunity to get inside of the system and be able to install the compressor, and also get to these bolts here that are located on the front of the shock themselves. So we're going to use a 3/4 inch wrench to get this off. We're actually going to take this compressor and we're going to mount it up underneath of the transmission located inside of here. We're going to be using these two 3/16 Allen key bolts that actually bolt into the bracket here, and they actually go right into the bottom of the transmission case. So now we're getting ready to install the actual shock back in the system. Now the flat part of the shock is going to be the bottom. It's going to sit like this, just like this inside of the motorcycle. The two rams are going to sit and connect to the suspension, and then there's two bolts that come in from the front of the frame that are going to come in from the front of the actual shock. Connecting the actual air line to the compressor from the shock. Be careful you don't kink up the hose. Next, we're going to raise up the suspension so we can slide the shock back into its spot. Okay, so we connected the air line from the compressor to the shock as you saw in the last shot. What we did was then we lifted up the actual shock and guided it into the front of the frame to mount the actual back end of the shock. Now we're just going to torque it up and get ready to do the wiring. We're going to now take off the battery so we can get to the bottom of the battery tray. Make sure you put your battery terminal bolts somewhere where you don't lose them. Now looking down inside of the battery box, you'll see that there's actually two access holes in the back corners of the battery box. We're going to use this side to run up to a wiring harness for the shotgun shocks. Feed the wires up from the bottom of the system. Now we're not putting on the heat shrink tube yet because we want to test it and make sure that the system is functioning. So we're actually going to run the wiring up in the back, connect this relay with a zip tie up here so we can run the cables up into the back of the battery box. Complete lower end of the bike completely buttoned up, all the suspensions connected, the air lines are connected, all the connections are made at the back temporarily because we haven't installed the heat shrink yet. Put the switch together just to make sure that we can see that the system is functioning now that it's connected to the battery. So by simply hitting the switches, you can see that there's actually movement in the suspension. Everything seems to be working and I can't wait to get this thing on the ground. So now it's time to actually install that switch. So what we're actually going to do is take off the horn button, the horn socket here, get it loosened off. Just going to peel off this protective cover, which is protecting the chrome below it. Beautiful. Put the washer back on, put the bolts back on. Now that that's complete, we're going to run the wiring up underneath the tank. And we're going to try and fish it way up back there. And we're going to actually now button it up in the battery. So the battery area of the bike is actually becoming a very busy place. So what we actually elected to do was run the wiring down the frame and actually up over the frame and underneath this grounding strap that's holding these two wires in place. Makes for a really clean look. Now that we've actually ran the cable into the battery box, we're going to slide on the heat shrink tube. And we're simply going to make the connection for the last time. By putting the heat shrink tube over top the connection, we're going to heat this up and make it nice and tight and waterproof. Okay, so we've just cleaned up all of our wiring. We've done all the zip ties. We've put all the wiring up underneath onto the bottom of the battery box. We've made all of our shrink tube connections. We've installed the switch on top of the horn. We've done everything that we need to do to now put it on the ground and test it out. I put the bike pretty much where I believe stock height would have been. Now on the left side of the bike where you saw me install those switches, if I hit the button, down she goes to the full drop position. Now what we've actually figured out is about roughly 4.5 to 5 inches of travel from the lowest to the highest settings. The bike will go all the way up beyond stock ride height. If I push both switches up, it'll actually raise the bike up. It takes a few seconds for the air chamber to fill with air, for the piston to push it to the other side, but as you can see, the bike is coming up now. And that's all the way up. So we would never ride like this. This is obviously way too high. So you want to find that sweet spot where you're happy with it. Now the other thing I love about this system is that it still has its rebound. As you can see, there's plenty of air in the suspension, actually too much air. So what we can do is actually reduce some of that air and make it more rigid. And you can do that by adjusting the toggles. So all in all, the actual shock install was very easy, very straightforward. Once you figured out how to get it up on the lift and remove the dust cover, and it actually gave you so much access, it's not hard to install at all. As far as tips I can give you when you're doing this install is make sure that you do loosen off the clamp that holds the compressor so you can get the compressor over to this side of the bike and then kick it into its sweet spot. Because if you don't, it'll be very difficult for you to get the shock up. Second thing I want to say is make sure that when you're installing the system, you make sure that there's a lot of travel in that air line, that it doesn't kink. Because if it kinks, obviously it's restricting the airflow. Other than that, simple, easy to install. Anybody can do it. I recommend that you jump on shockonshocks.com, order the system for your bike today, and it'll be delivered to you in a few days, and I swear, you will thank me later on. And if you don't believe me, go check out all the reviews on Shock on Shocks. So, this ends another exciting episode of Project Softail. I'm very excited. Check back next Tuesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for the next episode. And again, it's late, I'm going to bed, but I will leave you with this. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. Hit the subscribe button. Check out my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook, and SPEEDFREAKTV.com. I'll be putting up some pictures of tonight's work and also behind the scenes stuff that was actually kind of funny. There might be some extra clips going up on a secondary channel for SPEEDFREAKTV, but it's been a lot of fun filming. Anyways, thanks for watching SPEEDFREAKTV. We'll see you next Tuesday. And don't forget to tell Shock on Shocks SPEEDFREAKTV sent you.